Good evening, sir. In this presentation, I present the Assignment 1 of Wireless Network Technology course module. The course code IT5040. My name is Samsuhar. My registration number MS2092448. So first we will discuss the network protocol. Network protocol is an established set of rules that determine how data is transmitted between different devices in the same network. Essentially, it allows connected devices to communicate with each other regardless of any difference in their internal process. The second thing is importance of the standard. Standards provide people in organization with the basis for mutual understanding and are used as tools to facilitate communication, measurement, commerce, and manufacturing. Standards are everywhere and play an important role in the economy. Because the data communication is an important role in the IT world, transfer the data from sender to receiver through the communication medium. This communication process needs some rules and constraints for efficiency. That's why in the expertise create the protocols for that the purpose. A set of rules and constraints called protocol. It ensures the security of the data transmission process. In some of the standard bodies in the wireless network, first standard body is TIA, Telecommunication Industry Association. TIA is the Standard and Technology Department operate dual engineering committee which develop guidelines for private radio equipment, cellular towers, data terminal, satellite telephone terminal equipment, accessibility, VoIP devices, structure cabling and data center, mobile device communication, multimedia multicast, cellular vehicular telematics, healthcare ICT, machine-to-machine communication and smart utility network. The second standard body is ETSI, European Telecommunication Standard Institute. ETSI supports the development and testing of global technical standards for ICT-enabled systems. The third one is ITU, International Communication Union. The ITU promote the shared global use of the radio spectrum, facilitate international cooperation in assigning satellite orbit, assist in developing and coordinating worldwide technical standards, and works to improve telecommunication infrastructure in the developing world. In relationship between the IEEE and ETSI, ETSI and IEEE are collaborating to harmonize WAN's broadband radio access network and 802.11a standard because both operation in the 5 GHz band. Some of the standards are used in the wireless communication in the IEEE standard. First thing is Computer Society. Second, IEEE 802.11 wireless LAN working group. Third one is IEEE 8.0.11. ISO OSI, Open System Interconnection, create the 7 layers for the 7 layers. These 7 layers are using in the network communication. The set of interconnectionally organized non-property standard for networking and for operating system involved in the networking function. First, physical layer the physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and also application layer. The physical layer is the lowest layer of the OSI reference model. It's the physical layer. It is responsible for actual physical connection between the devices. The physical layer contains information in the form of bits. It is responsible for transmitting individual bits from one node to next. When receiving data, this layer will get the signal received and convert into zeros and ones and send them to the data link layer, which will put frame back together. Some kind of functions are doing in the physical layer. First, bit synchronization. The physical layer provides the synchronization of the bit by providing the clock. This clock controls the both sender and receive, provide the synchronization at bit level. Second, bitrate control. The physical layer also defines the transmission rate. And second layer is data link layer. Data link layer is responsible for the node-to-node delivery of the message. The main function of this layer is to make sure data transfer is error-free from one node to another over the physical layer. These are the some functions are doing in the data link layer. Framing is the function of the data link layer. It provides a way for the sender to transmit a set of bits that are meaningful to the receiver. This can be accomplished by attaching the special bit pattern to being an end of the frame. Second, physical addressing. After creating the frames, data link layer at physical address. It's called MAC address of the sender and receiver in the header of each frame. Third function of the data link layer, error control. Data link layer provides the mechanism of error control in which it is detect and retransmit the damage or lost frame. And finally, flow control. The data rate R must be constant on both sides, else the data may get corrupted. Thus, the flow control coordinates the amount of data that can be sent before receiving acknowledgement. The third layer, network layer. Network layer works for transmission of the data from one host to other located in the different network. It also takes care of packet routing. There is selection of the shortest path to transmit the packet from the number of routers available. Some sort of functions are doing in the network layer. First, routing. Second, logical addressing. Routing means the network layer protocol determines which router is suitable for source to destination. This function of the network layer is known as routing. Second, logical addressing. In order to identify each device on internet working uniquely, network layers defines an address schema. The sender and receiver IP's address are placed in header by network layer. The fourth layer is transport layer. Transport layer provides service to application layer and takes service from the network layer. The data in the transport layer is referred to as segment. It is responsible for the end-to-end delivery of the complete message. The transport layer also provides the acknowledgement of the successful data transmission and transmit the data if error is found. There are two functions in the transport layer: segmentation and reassembly. This layer accepts the message from the session layer, break the message into smaller units. Each of the segments produced has the header associated within it. The transport layer at the destination station assembled by the message. The second service point addressing. In order to deliver the message to correct process, transport layer header includes the type of address called service point address or port address. That's by specifying that this address transport layer make sure that the message is delivered to the correct process. Fifth layer in the OSI model, session layer. This layer is responsible for the establishment of connection, maintenance of the sessions, authentication, and also ensure the security. These are some functions are doing in the session layer. First function, session establishment, maintenance, and termination. The layer allows the two processes to establish, use, and terminate the connection. Second function is synchronization. This layer allows the process to add checkpoints which are considered as the synchronization point into the data. These synchronization points help to identify the error so the data is synchronized properly and end of the message are not cut prematurely and data loss in avoidance. The sixth layer, presentation layer. Presentation layer is also called the translation layer. The data from the application layer is extracted here and manipulated as per the required format to transmit over the network. The function of the presentation layers are translation. It's been ASCII to another format, encryption and decryption, data encryption. These are the function of the presentation layer. Data encryption translates the data into another form or code. The encrypted data is also has the ciphertext and also decrypted data also the plain text. The key value is used for encrypting as well as decrypting data. Final layer of the OSI model, application layer. At the very top of the OSI reference model stack of layer, find application layer which is implemented by the network application. This application produces the data which has to be transferred over the network. This layer also serves as the windows for the application services to access the network and for displaying receiving information to the user. These are some functions of the application layer: network virtual terminal, mail services, directory services. Another protocols in the networking, data networking, data communication, TCP/IP protocols. These protocols, TCP/IP zone, the 4 layers are available. 4 layers are using in the TCP/IP protocols. First one is application layer. Application layer interact with an application program which is highest level of the OSI model. The application layer is the OSI layer which is close to end user. It means OSI layer allows user to interact with other software application. The sum of the functions are in the application layer. Application layer help you to identify the communication partner, determine resources availability and synchronization communication, and also it is allow user to log onto the remote host. The second thing is transport layer. Transport layer builds on the network layer in order to provide the data transformed from the process on a source system machine to process on the destination system. It is hosted using single or multiple network and also maintain the quality of the service functions. Some of the important function of the transport layer: it divides the message received from the session layer into segment and numbers them to make a sequence. Transport layer makes sure that the message is delivered to the correct process on the destination machine, and also it also makes sure that the entire message arrives without any error, else it should be retransmitted. The third layer in the TCP IP protocol, internet layer. An internet layer is the second layer of the TCP IP layer of TCP model. It also known as the network layer. The same function in the OSI7 layer. The main work of this layer is in the packet from any network and any computers. Still they reach the destination irrespective of the route they take. Final layer, network interface layer. The network interface layer is the fourth layer of the TCP IP model. This layer also called network access layer. This helps you to define details of how data should be sent using the network. These are the relationship between network layer, TCP, relationship between OSI 7 layers in TCP protocols. In the OSI 7 layer has three layers: application layer, presentation layer, and also session layer. These three layers functions are equal to TCP IP protocol application layer. Then transport layer is same as the TCP IP layer. The network layer and also the same in the TCP IP protocol. In the final two layers, physical layers and data link layers, both functions are doing in the same functions are doing in the network interface layer in TCP IP protocol. In the data communication, data is transferred from one place to another place through the medium. So the medium are any kind of medium, like any kind of medium, but the data travel in wave format. So there are two kind of signals. We are calling the signals. Two kind of signals are available in the data communication. First thing is analog signal. First thing is analog signal. Analog signal means a continuous signal in which one time value quality represent another time value based. Second thing is digital signal. Digital signal means discrete value signal. It is that is used to represent the data in the sequence of separate value at any point in the time. It can only take on a fixed value of number of values. In the analog signal, the signals there are three characteristics available. First, amplitude, frequency, phase. The amplitude means the maximum distance between the horizontal axis and vertical axis, vertical point of the waveform. Frequency is number of cycles, complete cycle in 1 second. It is called frequency. The third one is phases. Phases is a definition of position of the point in time of the waveform. Second, bandwidth. The bandwidth means the bandwidth of the signal is defined as the difference between upper and lower frequency of the signal generated. In the transition media, there are two kind of transition media is using the data communication. First one is lossless transmission media. Second one is lossless transmission media. The lossless transmission media, the transmission media rate does not affected by any other factors. Factors mean any other environment factors, noises, distortion, and attenuations. If we want to calculate the lossless transmission media, we can using the this formula: maximum bit rate is equal to 2 multiply bandwidth multiply into log base 2n, the LV number of signal level. The lossless transmission media, the transmission media rate are affected by other factors. It is this formula was used for the maximum rate bit rate. The SNR mean signal to noise ratio. These are the some impairment of the transmission media. We already mentioned that the noise, distortion, and attenuation. Noise means the random or unwanted signal that mix up with the original signal. It is called noises. Distortion, it means change in the form or shape of the signal. This is generally seen in the composite signal made up with the different frequency. Attenuation means it means the loss of energy. The strength of the signal decreases with the increasing distance, which case loss of energy is overcoming resistance of the medium. Another one is latency of the signal. Latency refers to how much time it takes for the signal travel to its destination and back. Another thing is PCM. PCM means pulse coarse modulation. It is method used to digitally represent the sample analog signal. It is the standard form of digital audio in computer, compact disc, digital telephony, and other digital audio application. There are many low rate encoding methods are available. In first NRZ encoding, non-return is 0. This means code NRZ code has 1 for high voltage level and 0 for the low voltage level. The main behavior of NRZ code is that the voltage level remain constant during bit interval. The second low rate encoding method is Manchester encoding. Manchester encoding is the form of digital encoding in which data is bit are represented by translation from one logical state to another. And in some of the modulations are available. Quarter rate phase shifting is the phase modulation technique. It implies that there are 4 possible phases which are carried can have at the given time. That is for the 64 quadrant amplitude modulation. Is the which allow one single radio wave to represent the 6 bit of manipulating amplitude and phase of the radio wave into one of 64 bit discrete measurable state. In FDMI, frequency division multiplication, is a technique by which the total bandwidth available in the communication medium is divided into series of non-overlapping frequency bands, each of which is to carry separate signal. TDM, time division multiplication, is a method of transmitting and receiving independent signals over common signal path by meaning of the synchronized switch at the each end of the transmission line, so that the each signal appear on the line only the fraction of the time in alternating pattern. OFDMA, orthogonal frequency division multiple access, is the communication technique that divides the communication channel into number of equal space frequency band. Spread spectrum technology is a transmission technology that spread the low bandwidth communication signal over high frequency for transmission, then de-spread into the original data bandwidth at the receive. MIMO means multi-input, multi-output. It's an antenna-based technology used in the wireless data communication. MIMO has many antennas used like the transmitter and receiver. Beamforming is the technique that focuses the wireless signal towards the specific receive device rather than having the signal spread in all directions from the broadcast antenna. FDD, frequency division duplex, is the communication technique where the connected parties can communicate with each other in the both directions through the use of the separate frequency band for the transmitting and receiving. TDD, time division duplex, it is referred to duplex communication link where the uplink is separated from the downlink by allocation of the different time slot in the same frequency band. Data word means separate the transmission message into block coding and add the extra bit on the block. Each block has the k number of bits. This format called the data word. The code word means adding the redundant bit for each block. So the total length of the block is n equal to k plus r. The resulting n bit blocks are called code word. Error detection and error correction in the block. Detecting error from the block coding need to meet two conditions. The error means the receiver finds some modification in the source word. If the conditions are met, so the error is detected. The receiver has the list of valid code word and the original code word has changed to an invalid one. The receiver generates the code word outside the data word using the code generator. The transmission process code word may be changed. Error correction more difficult than the error detection process. For the error correction, receiver want to find source original code word. The error correction process the need extra bit the message encoded with the redundant information by sending in error correction code form. Cycling code is the block code where the secular shift of each code word gives another word that belongs to the code. Checksum is the value used to verify the integrity of the file or data transfer. In other words, it is sum that checks the validity of the data. Transmit buffer. The function of the transmit buffer is to keep the output rate of the encoder fixed. Receive buffer. Packets are first stored in the buffer, then sent into application processes if the packet arriving rate is higher than the rate at which packets are removed from the buffer. The receiving buffer will fully occupied by packing waiting to proceed. Flow control is speed up the transmission process. The process used where heavy traffic load on the receiver side or receiver has less processing power compared to sender. Vertical link control LLC. The LLC supplier provides a multiplexing mechanism that makes it possible for several network protocols. Some of the frame structures in the IT5040 this frame for the 802.3 meg frame structure. Basic frame format which is required for the all make implementation is defined in IEEE 802 standard. The frame have several bytes for the some sort of function. First, preamble. Second, first 7 bit for the preamble. Second, 1 byte for the SFD means the start of the frame delimiter. Next 6 byte for the destination address, another 6 byte for the source address, another 2 byte for the length, and 46 to 1500 bytes for the data, and finally CRC means cycling redundancy check for 4 bytes. If the IEEE 802.11 makes some sub layers. The first, the make layer provide the functionality of several tasks like control medium access, can also offer support for roaming authentication and power conservation. The basic service provided by the MEC are the mandatory asynchronous data service and optional time-bound service. These are the two sub-layers. Distributed coordination function DCP. DCF use CSMA CAS access method is the wireless LAN. Can't implement CSMA CD. It only offers asynchronous service. Point coordination function PCF. PCF is the implemented on top of DCF, mostly used for the time service transmission. It uses the centralized content-free pooling address method. It offers both asynchronous and also time-bounded service. Thank you very much.